I didn't see the whole game.
He took a fastball that was high and inside on 3-0. It was obviously out of the strike zone, and the home plate umpire called it a strike. The same thing with the next pitch, and then Ortiz winds up swinging and missing for strike 3, and then he has a few more words with the home plate umpire, then gets thrown out of the game, and then comes that tirade. And he had every right to explode the way he did. There was no rhyme or reason for the calls that the umpire made.
I gotta disagree because he shouldn't have done that. There were teammates around him. I mean,
I know.
I know Dustin Pedroia put him in his place.
Yes, I was gonna say Pedroia told him, listen, cut it out. Don't be doing that.
Yeah. I gotta go with you, Lynn, on that too as well. Granted, sports can be emotional. Sometimes when calls or plays don't go your way, people get upset. They get pissed at times, and they express it sometimes in rational ways where they just with their words, and sometimes in irrational ways like Ortiz getting a bat and breaking plastic and having debris all over the place and God forbid hurting somebody nearly.
Well, I'm backing up David Ortiz on this one, and that's saying a lot considering the jersey that I have.
Exactly.
Because this only reiterates the theory they've got to start getting some better umpires in there. Some of these guys are working on a very short fuse, which is inexcusable. That's first of all. Second of all, you got some of these veteran umpires who are really starting to break down mentally, if you will, when it comes to making calls either behind home plate or on the infield. Major League Baseball has got to get some younger umpires in there, plain and simple.
Not only that, it might get to the point where they may want to do instant replay on everything or challenge every little.
That might slow the game down tremendously. On pitches, you can't.
They're doing it in home.
That's another problem with baseball. They're not keeping up with the changing times right there. An advanced version of instant replay would do wonders for that sport.
Yeah. Well,
Lynn, do you have any last words for us?
I wanted to add about, I was very surprised about hearing about Tino Martinez stepping down as hitting coach after the accusations of player abuse.
Yeah, that really shocked me. I never saw Tino as the type to be a real hothead, but...
Neither have I.
When I heard the rumor that he actually grabbed a player by the jersey, that really, really stunned me because... Every Yankee fan knew Tino to be a real gentleman, both on and off the field.
The guy never said a word his whole time here.
Very rarely did he ever say a word.
Never said a word.
There was that one incident that he had, actually a couple of incidents that he had with Armando Benitez, but that's another story.
I remember that very well. I remember watching that game very, very well. He looked like he was going to come to blows, and all hell broke loose between both teams, and fists were flying, and... you see O'Neill holding back Martinez like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Who hasn't had an issue with Armando Benitez? His own teammates have had issues with him.
Oh, yeah.
He's a terrible pitcher, but that's besides the point. Yeah. But, yeah, with Tino Martinez, the team actually is last in runs, last in batting average, last in slugging, last in a lot of offensive categories. But at the same time, I couldn't believe that story about Tino being, that an abusive kind of person and all that. I find
it hard. I can't grasp it. I find it so hard to believe.
I think the story will definitely come out. I think there's going to be more to it that will be revealed sooner than later for sure.
You know what? It just goes to show you some guys are just not meant to be a coach. When they leave the game, if they don't have the patience to be a coach or a manager or a general manager or any kind of front office position, why even continue?
And you said a key word, patience. You gotta have the patience if you're anywhere in coaching,
true.
Especially with a team like the Marlins. I mean, look at their fan base. I mean, the fan base, even with a new stadium, the attendance continues to decline drastically there. I mean, you can have the patience of Job in that place.
Ever since they moved to Miami, it's been nothing but just downhill slope. Like going further down.
It just goes to show you. It just goes to show you that Miami and even the Tampa St. Pete area, for that matter, it was just the wrong idea to bring baseball to the state of Florida. It's a horrible, horrible market to try and have baseball. They don't have the demographics for it. They don't have the baseball IQ for it. They don't even have the passion for it. As we all know, Florida is football first, auto racing second, and then after that, take your choice.
Beach party.
Basketball.
Beach party.
But now basketball's up there, too, with the Miami Heat.
And baseball's all the way down in the basement.
except for spring training in February and March.
But you know what? The Tampa Bay Rays are actually in a very good stretch right now. Even before the All-Star break, they went 16-4, and now they're just a half a game behind the Boston Red Sox for the AL East.
I always thought that Tampa was going to be a dangerous team, specifically with their pitching. And how about the kid that threw zeros at the Yankees on Saturday?
I know, really good pitcher they brought up.
Well, everybody can. You know what? We can rip the Yankees until the cows come home because of their lack of hitting, but this kid just dominated them. Why don't you just take your hats off to the guy?
And now that Will Myers, the guy they got in the Kansas City trade, really has proven good for them. And Matt Moore this year has had a hell of a season.
And, of course, David Price has pitched as capably as Rays fans know him to.
Ever since coming back from the DL, and they went on they were 4-2 this past week against the Yankees and the Red Sox, two of their biggest competitor, to their big AL East competitors. But anyway, that's all I have to say on.
The tables have definitely turned a little bit.
Yeah,
Yankees just own Tampa. So.
Well, although this year the Rays have owned the Yankees. I mean, they've taken 2 out of 3 a couple of times in St. Pete, and then came yesterday.
And as far as this kid coming up for Tampa, I mean, isn't that what usually happens when a team hasn't seen a pitcher?
Yeah.
Pitch advantage, pitcher.
Right now, they're playing in a game right now, delayed in the 8th inning, and it's 2-1 Tampa right now over Boston. Oh, Lynn, is there?
And the Yankees have the night off, and tomorrow the Dodgers for 2 games.
Okay.
Well, Lynn, do you have any other last words to say?
No, that's pretty much it. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Lynn, before you go, there's something that I definitely have to mention with you. You being the big wrestling fan. Have you been watching The Ring of Honor at all?
I've never watched it.
Well, as you know, the wrestler now known as Daniel Bryan, formerly known as Bryan Danielson, made his mark in The Ring of Honor. And on YouTube, just the other day, there was this really great match that Danielson had in his Ring of Honor days with a wrestler named Claudio Castagnoli. The match took place exactly 5 years ago, this past Thursday, up in Toronto. Great match. It lasted for 20 minutes. This was a throwback to the good old days of yesteryear when you had guys putting on arm locks and headlocks and head scissors on the mat and using all types of Greco-Roman style holds. I mean, it was just a real old school style match. Naturally, Danielson won that match, and now he's making his mark in WWE right now. I'd like to see him lose that little that beard, which makes him look maybe 20 or 30 years older.
I mean, it's his shtick. It's his gimmick. That's it fits him. I mean, eventually people get really sick of it and just shave it off for crying out loud. But I hope he does become WWE champion. That would be great. I got nothing but love and respect for Cena, but enough is enough.
Yeah, and Guy has something to say about that.
Yeah. I have to say about Daniel Bryan. There's only one word. One word, I tell you.
He's doing his sheep impersonation.
Is that a word?
Oh my God.
Is that a word?
Yeah,
Okay.
technically, yes.
Okay.
So that's my little wrestling thing for today. Oh, and if you want to get your
cool.
old school wrestling thing on, definitely check out the AWA. They always have classic matches on ESPN.
Yes. I had the DVD about the Legacy of the AWA. I love that DVD.
That was a proud time to be a wrestling fan. A lot of people don't know, but Superfly Snuka actually went to the AWA after he left the WWE. And I think...
did he?
Yeah, he wrestled there for a little bit, and he had a very successful time there, too. I don't recall him winning a championship, though, but he had a very, very nice time, albeit brief, in AWA. Do you have any last words for us?
It's like a majority of the AWA just bounced to WWE. It was like that stepping stone to get to there.
Hulk Hogan and Nick Bockwinkel both passed through WWE. Hogan had a whole bunch of memorable matches with Nick Bockwinkel for the AWA title. Hogan could never get in good with Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel owned him every single time.
Do you know why, though?
Because of Heenan.
No, it was the behind-the-scenes Vern Gagne and Hulk Hogan were having issues involving money.
Ah, I
And
see.
Gagne wanted at least half or more than half of what Hogan was receiving in Japan, and Hogan refused.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
when Hogan went to Japan one day, he found out that Vern Gagne started selling merchandise with Hulk Hogan's name on it, and made a ton of money, and then just pocketed it. And
That's
and
amazing.
that's why Hogan kept getting screwed out of the title, either by DQ or the Hogan got disqualified or whatever. And
That's amazing.
it just got to a point where Hogan got a call from Vince McMahon Jr., obviously, and late one night, Vince comes over to Minneapolis. They had a meeting at a hotel room, shook hands, and the rest is history.
And thus started a very infamous relationship between the two. I guess you could say if it's more of a hate relationship than a love-hate.
But it's obvious the minute Hogan left, everything started to slowly go downhill.
Wow.
Then Gene Okerlund leaves. He gave his notice. Jesse Ventura, Bobby Heenan, so on and so forth.
Yep. Oh, and just to give you an idea, Hulk Hogan's 60th birthday is next month.
Wow.
Oh my
Boy,
God!
60.
And
He still thinks about going back to the ring.
still going back, right?
Hogan, stop! For the love of God, stop!
Still know how to-
Please.
Yeah, right. Pack it up
I've had
already.
enough.
And
Pack
can
it
the
in.
same be said for Rick? Can the same be said for Ric Flair too?
Yes.
What about Triple
Well,
H?
Lynn, I hate to tell you this, man, but we actually got to run. We got roughly 15 minutes to go, so definitely get back to us next week, okay?
Okay, will do.
Thank you, Lynn, once again.
Thanks.
And of course, going back to baseball, one Alfonso Soriano made his return, and after going 0 for his first 8 at the plate, after being traded to the Yankees by the Cubs, he got the game-winning hit yesterday. Wound up having 4 hits in the finale against the Rays.
And he's just one of the many players that have been traded. Jose Veras just got traded from Houston to Detroit in need of a closer to go along Joaquin Benoit and Brett Smiley and Drew Smiley.
Yep.
And also recently, Scott Downs just got traded from the right-handed relief pitcher from the Los Angeles Angels, traded to the Atlanta Braves. They needed somebody, considering
And
Venters.
there are hot trade rumors involving Justin Morneau going from the Twins to the Orioles. There was a Jake Peavy trade rumor. I think I heard him going to the Oakland Athletics, which makes a lot of sense. The A's need pitching for the stretch run. Not that they don't have enough of it, but they definitely need an extra guy in order to get them over the top out west.
Especially Bartolo Colon, who's pitching like he's 20 years old this
Yeah.
year.
So are the Yankees going to be sellers?
They're not even,
Oh, they're definitely going to be buyers.
They're not.
For them to
they're
be
not-
sellers, that means they're going to concede the season. The Yankees don't concede
not gonna
anything
do
when
that,
they're
right.
this close to a
I figure
playoff
they
run.
give Mariano, trade him maybe to Detroit.
No,
Give him a
Mariano
chance to win
Rivera
another-
is going to finish his career as a Yankee.
Even really.
Yes.
So they won't give him a shot to win another World Series on his.
If
way
he
out.
wanted a shot to win a World Series, it would be in pinstripes
They-
only.
Right.
And another guy who's been rumored this week, Justin Morneau from
Yep, we mentioned
Minnesota.
Morneau. There was a Justin Morneau to the Orioles trade rumor.
And speaking of which, the Orioles got Scott Feldman, former starting pitcher of the Texas Rangers and so many other teams. And, of course, K-Rod, Francisco Rodriguez from Milwaukee
Just
and
got
formerly
a
the
text.
Mets.
Just got a text from a friend of mine, big Hogan fan. Obviously, he's watching the show tonight. He's 60 years old. Pack it up. Pack it in. Right? He's old.
Some
Over
of
the
these
hill.
guys, some of these guys see the wrestling industry as the only life that they know. And just to give you an idea, there have been guys who've wrestled until their very last breath. There was a famous wrestler, the Sheik, who also happens to be the uncle of Sabu, the ECW star. The Sheik wrestled until his early 70s.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's kind of like in hockey. There are people who will stay till they're in their late 40s. And speaking of which, Yager.
In fact, the Sheik passed away 2 weeks after his last match.
Just give it up, retire, enjoy
Hogan's
whatever
gotta give
money
it
you
up. I mean,
saved, and
He's
invest.
not wrestling anyway, right? What's he doing? Just like appearances and stuff?
He's chilling for now.
chilling, right? like,
He's got that TNA, that
TNA.
or whatever it's called.
promoting it.
Last I checked, he was with TNA and doing a storyline with Ric Flair.
And just retire with whatever money you got. Invest in a vineyard. Like everybody else. Get a restaurant. Actually, don't, because those are failing enterprises. Put in stocks,
I know
bonds.
Hulk's he's got a shop in Florida that my friend is always visiting every time he's out there.
And of course, there was his reality show that he had with his now ex-wife and their kids.
Based in Tampa, because a lot of wrestlers live in Tampa.
Yep.
If they live, John Cena even has a residence in Tampa, Florida. Big Show lives in Tampa. It's the home of their development. One of the big Florida Championship Wrestling is based in Tampa, Florida.
And a lot of people know him as being billed from Venice Beach, California. He was actually born in the state of Georgia.
Or guys, or even Sarasota, Florida, for the late Randy Macho Man Savage.
He lived in Florida, but he was actually born in Ohio.
And he lived on Staten Island for a bit, I believe.
He did live on Staten Island. He lived close to the mall.
Well, anyway, I know there's so much.
As for what's going on in baseball, the Mets are playing the Marlins right now, and predictably, the Marlins are giving the Mets all they could handle. Last I checked, it was 5-3 in the 6th inning. I'm going to check the scores right now. The Yankees have the night off. They've got 2 games with the Dodgers, then another day off, and then they finish the California portion of their road trip against the Padres, and then they go to the Midwest to take on the White Sox.
Well, the Marlins, you got to look at, even though the rest of their team is not the greatest, the one person, Jose Fernandez, he's had 13 strikeouts in his last, 23 strikeouts, and gave only 10 hits in 15 innings pitched in his last 2 starts. He's the future of that rotation.
Yep. And also the Marlins are going with a whole new look, specifically in the outfield. All 3 of their starting outfielders tonight just recently got promoted from the minor leagues.
And speaking of which, in the rest of the league, the Cardinals, they're just they're basically looking like the dominant team as they've always been this
Defending
season.
champs.
Mike Matheny's doing a great job managing that team. You got guys like Shelby Miller and Adam Wainwright in the rotation that have done their job.
Mike Matheny's done all he could with that team, and this latest youth movement that they're doing could be the best thing for them. And speaking of which, it's been their starting pitcher, Jacob Turner, who's been really keeping the Mets at bay since giving up 3 runs in the early innings.
And around the league, too, you got the Braves, who are,
Braves just completed a sweep of the Cardinals over the weekend.
and not only that, they unfortunately lost Tim Hudson for the season because of the incident that took place against the Mets.
That's a huge blow to their to their division title hopes right there.
But Brandon Beachy's coming back from 13 months of Tommy John surgery rehabilitation to try and take his place.
And it also helps to have a dominant closer, Craig Kimbrell.
You got Rick Porcello in the month of July for the Tigers, who's posted a 1.35 ERA, won all 4 of his starts over 20 innings.
Yep, Porcello, of course, a New Jersey native who went to Seton Hall Prep.
They've been trade, busy. In the last 2 years, they got Doug Fister last offseason in 2012. And in 11, they got Anibal Sanchez and Omar Infante from the Marlins.
Yep.
The Reds, Aroldis Chapman, whenever he pitches, they usually do well with him, but they never use him in extra innings, which is pretty baffling considering he's a very good reliever. Yasiel Puig and the Dodgers.
Yep. Won yesterday's game against the Reds with a solo home run, which turned out to be the only run of the game. Although he hit a little bit of a rookie wall for a while. And also, he's been driving Don Mattingly crazy with some of his decision-making on the base paths. He wound up getting picked off of first yesterday trying to steal.
But, in his last 6 games, he's hitting .435, 10 for 23, 2 homers, 2 RBIs. So, overall, I think he's the future of the franchise. Great pickup.
Dare I say that the Dodgers take over the National League West and win the division right there?
They were in last place 2 months ago.
Amazing. How about the job that
June.
not only what Puig has been able to do for the Dodgers, but how about the job that Don Mattingly has done for them?
How about not just them, management has done a good job in getting the capital they needed to get these players and really make
of course
moves.
It helps to have a great pitcher, Clayton Kershaw,
who's due for a huge contract at some point.
and Adrian Gonzalez has been hitting the ball very, very well for the Dodgers.
And amongst the other teams, how about
Just the Dodgers, 1 second. Is that Mattingly's first game back at Yankee Stadium as manager?
Yeah.
It is, right?
Last,
that.
I think it was last month that the Dodgers played the Yankees at the stadium, and it was his first game back at the stadium since he left. And they're going to be facing each other again this time at Dodger Stadium, and that definitely is going to be a hot ticket.
Okay.
Speaking of trade rumors, how about the Phillies? They've been rumored to have trades. Michael Young, Carlos Ruiz,
Jonathan Papelbon too,
and Cliff Lee has been the biggest of all.
So
yeah,
they're sellers. In other words.
The Phillies may have to be sellers because they have really hit a wall recently. They have not been able to hit the ball at all, and unfortunately, Cliff Lee basically has been the only pitcher worth any substance right now.
We do have an MVP waiting out there on the
Yes,
on
we
the
do.
deck. We'll bring her in the last couple minutes.
Yes, we will. Checking out some stuff in football. Training camps officially got started. And going to our neck of the woods, the Jets signed both of their number 1 draft picks, specifically D. Milner yesterday, who got the rookie contract.
A 4-year deal worth $12.66 million. Mm-hmm. I think with a $4 or $5 million signing bonus.
Yep.
And Barkevius Mingo, Sheldon Richardson got a 4-year, $10.66 million contract. So right there, and all the first rounders have been signed officially.
And there's already been talk about who the first pick overall is going to be in 2014. I'm hearing a lot more that it's going to be Jadeveon Clowney from South Carolina, specifically after that big hit that he made against Michigan in the Gator Bowl, or actually the Outback Bowl this past winter.
He'll definitely, but also be on the lookout for Teddy Bridgewater in Louisville. He's definitely going to be another guy to be on the lookout for, and possibly Johnny Football or Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel, who's only going to be a redshirt sophomore, so he might have another year to go. Speaking of Johnny Manziel, did you hear what he tried to do over the weekend?
He wore a Tim Tebow shirt to a fraternity party, I believe.
At the University of Texas.
Considering that is just, Tim Tebow and partying and all that, that's odd in itself right there.
And, of course, naturally, he wound up getting kicked out of the frat party.
Why would you do that?
He's got some nerve. I'm telling you.
Exactly what it is. Nerve.
It's nerve, but I'll be honest, it's a tad bit funny. Ironic and funny.
To him, maybe, but no Longhorn fans ever find anything like that funny.
But you know what? I think maybe he thought in his mind it was a bit of a practical funny or a joke, but you know what? It's not. So don't ever do that again. Just know for the future, be smart about that stuff.
On the bright side of college football, one thing that's definitely going to be interesting to watch, the many, many, many changes that have been going on in some of the conferences. The ACC now has Syracuse and Pittsburgh. The Big Ten pretty soon is going to have both Rutgers and Maryland. The Southeastern Conference is pretty much staying down pat. The Big East, the former Big East Football Conference, is now the American Athletic Conference, which is going to include now Houston, SMU, Temple, and Central Florida.
And of course, let's not forget
your University of Florida Gators might be challenging for an SEC title later this year.
Unless Alabama or Georgia or some of the other schools derail
or maybe even
that.
LSU.
Or LSU. But
never count out LSU.
And the SEC probably the number 1 conference in all of college football.
Yeah, the dominant conference in college football right now.
And, another stuff that happened in the NFL, the injuries.
Yeah, the many, many injuries that took place. The Ravens wound up losing their top tight end, and they had to sign the ex-Giant Visanthe Shianko to a 1-year deal just to fill in his spot.
Dennis Pitta.
And also, the Broncos lost their starting center for the whole year because he wound up tearing up his knee.
Dan Copen, and he's one of, how about Armin Binns in Miami?
Jeremy Maclin of the Eagles tore up his knee. He's gone for the year.
And we've had several signing, like you said, Visanthe Shianko having to come in.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a training, and we got 5 QB battles that are taking place. Of course, Geno Smith and Mark Sanchez in our neck.
I really hope Geno Smith wins that job.
I still say it was a huge mistake the Jets made picking that guy in the second round. They could have done a hell of a lot better with their second round pick. Ryan Nassib of Syracuse was available, and he lasted until the I think, the 5th round when he was picked by the Giants.
The 4th, and it's but really it could have been Ryan Nassib because he's going to be a glorified backup to Eli Manning in New York. But to be honest, I think he wouldn't have fit the system like Geno Smith will in Marty Moore Henweg's style. It's fast, up-tempo, West Coast style offense.
Who do you see winning the battle?
To be honest, it's going to be Sanchez for the first few games. But if he messes up or screws up anyway, John Idzik.
Yeah.
He's not like the last GM that's going to let it
no,
go.
Not even.
He's gonna make it known that Geno
Put
Smith
his mark on the team.
Geno Smith is the way to go, not Sanchez anymore.
I think I would start with Geno Smith.
The same thing with Buffalo. I would start EJ Manuel over Kevin Cobb any day.
Sanchez
I'll take
has
EJ
had his
Manuel. I'll take a Pop Warner quarterback over Kevin Cobb any day.
And I would go with Matt Flynn's in Oakland.
Yep.
So no major injuries with the local teams, right? No.
Well, as for the Giants, Jason Pierre-Paul's coming off a major back surgery. He says he's 75%. Justin Tuck, who was dreadful last year, he had an assortment of injuries. We don't know exactly how he's going to be. We don't know if he's 100%. Hakeem Nicks, he's in his walk year. There's a chance that he may not be 100% either.
He had a foot problem last year.
Yeah.
And what about Santonio Holmes?
Santonio Holmes, the dreaded Liz Frank injury, which cost him the majority of last year. He doesn't know if he's going to play this year at all.
And now that Chris Ivory hasn't even been at training camp because he has knee issues.
Yeah. If it's not one thing, it's another with the Jets and Giants. But it's only July, so let's see exactly how this preseason pans out. Yeah. And now, with 2 minutes left, let's bring in your little champion, Coach John.
We have an MVP.
And I think she has a trophy with her, correct?
Yes, she should have it out there, yeah.
Come on in, Gabrielle.
The all-time leader
World
in
Cup.
goals scored for the Richmond Town Rush. Come on this side.
Come on in, Gabrielle. Right over here. Gabrielle from the Richmond Town Rush, ladies and gentlemen. This looks like a replica World Cup.
This looks like a World Cup, exactly.
That is so cool.
That is amazing.
Read it off.
Spring 2013 Richmond Town Rush MVP, Most Valuable Player, All-Time Leading Goal Scorer, 64 goals, Gabriella.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The next Mia Hamm we got her on our hands.
So, are you going to continue to play soccer next year?
Yes.
What's so fun about playing soccer?
Scoring goals.
Oh, of course. When you score 64 goals, it's got to be fun.
What's your favorite way to score goals, with your head or with your legs?
With my legs.
Yeah.
I don't think she's gotten any with her head yet, but we're working on that.
Do you have a favorite soccer player? You like them all, don't you?
Yes.
That's cool. Well, Gabrielle, congratulations again. And Coach John, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
You know you're welcome here anytime, right?
Thank you for that.
Our
The
pleasure,
thing
sir.
is, we really want to bore your audience with soccer, so...
No, it's
Soccer is not a boring sport. It's all in the eyes of the beholder.
Exactly.
If anything, it's a very exciting sport. That's going to do it for us, folks. Eric, John, Gabriella, thank you.
Thank you.
For everyone here, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Eric.
Good night, everyone.
Peace.